Hello, my name is John Reynolds. Welcome to Venture Visionaries. On this programme, on the panel, we've got Dan Murray-Serter, founder of direct-to-consumer supplement company Heights, host of one of the UK's most prominent business podcasts, Secret Leaders, and an active angel investor in 80 plus businesses. We've got Cheryl Cuisia, serial exited social entrepreneur and active impact investor on a mission to democratise finance and promote financial literacy for all. And Steve Bolton. Steve has been an entrepreneur for 30 years, a venture investor for 15, and today he's the managing partner of Bolt Angels, an early stage venture firm that invests into tech businesses that have the potential to go on to become unicorns. Pitching today is Matt Hawkins from CUDOS. Let's see how we get on.
Hey Matt, welcome.
Hi, thanks.
Tell us about your business and what you're looking for.
Yeah, sure. So I'm the CEO of CUDOS and we're raising 3 million and that's been done as a convertible note so that it's 20% discount and a 6% coupon. And then that's being provided at a 45 million cap, and that's so that we, prior to our Series A that we're planning next year. And the business itself, artificial intelligence. Yeah, everyone is aware of the huge growth in that sector at the moment. And we're just at the start of this explosion. It's going to accelerate massively over the next coming years. And all of that needs infrastructure, cloud infrastructure. And that is the challenge because there's so much demand for it. And that's our background. We previously built the UK's largest data center and cloud marketplace. We built data centers and cloud platforms and provided a lot of the UK's infrastructure. So we've got the experience. We did it for 20 years and that was bought back in 2016 for about 20 million. And we saw challenges in that industry when we were running that company. So this company was built to solve those. And that was, one was scalability, is we kept having to raise capital to keep building infrastructure. And then the demand for that meant that that takes time, anything 3 to 12 months to keep building out. In this space, you need that even faster. So biggest companies and fastest scaling companies in the world are marketplaces. So what we've done is we've built the solution for this, which is essentially like Airbnb for cloud computing. And what we do is we're able to aggregate all of the available computing capacity in the world and then make that available to the public. So on average, customers using our platform are saving about 70% over what they were paying beforehand. We have suppliers all across the world providing the best prices, so we can get the best pricing, we can get the best availability as well. And many of these brands or providers aren't even public. You can't get hold of them if you searched for them. You can only get through our platform. So it enables us to really get the best in the marketplace for it. So from that side, we're getting huge growth on that platform, a lot of opportunities and demand coming in. And then from the supplier's perspective, we give them new routes to market. We give them the software. Think about an Uber driver. You just need a car and download the app, and then you can become an Uber driver. We've made it that simple with our platform. So anyone that's got secure and available hardware can start contributing computing into that marketplace. So we're a team that have been here and done it before. We've built and scaled cloud companies. We know what we're doing in that space. We've got some of the best advisors in the market, like working with 2 prior presidents of Sony PlayStation on our board. We've AMD, second biggest chip manufacturer in the world in AI. They're on our board of advisors as well. So we're in the right space, in the right market, and we'd like to talk about that today.
Fantastic, thank you. Talk to us about revenue, profitability and projections for the future. When might you hit profitability?
So we've got 11 million forecasted in revenue next year. And it actually ramps up quite quickly. Some of the bigger clients that we're talking with now are spending 5 million a month on cloud. So it's a really big space. And we're in those conversations now. So we're forecasting by 2026, 113 million in revenue that year. So it scales up quite quickly. And customers are long-term contracts, typically 12, 18, sometimes 36-month contracts. So they're very sticky customers.
And you take a percentage, do you, as a platform?
Yes, that's right. Yeah, so we take 30% between the buyers and sellers on the platform as a marketplace.
And how do you see the competitive space? Surely there's lots of people jumping on this bandwagon.
Yeah, you have your traditional cloud providers, which is Amazon, Google, Microsoft, that have been in the space for a long time. But there's a report out, 83% of businesses say they're being overcharged by the hyperscalers that are out there. So there's kind of this second tier of providers that are now in that space. The two biggest are completely sold out. They've got no more supply, and this is because there's so much demand in the market, and the hardware is only being allocated into spots to different providers, and that's really our biggest USP there.
It's quite similar. There's stuff like this in crypto, right? Like conceptually sharing compute, and
Yes.
this is like a very. I think what I quite like about this is, it sounds familiar.
Yep.
It's not like completely mental new idea,
Yeah.
but applied in arguably a much more predictably reliable growing space, that being AI to crypto. Obviously, crypto is still interesting, but you can't deny the tide of companies moving to AI, and the compute requirement of it is astronomical.
Yes.
So I think what's interesting about this business is market timing of the problem that people actually have with their requirements continually going through the roof. They probably haven't budgeted it properly.
Yeah.
And they want a solution. And on the like all good marketplace challenge size, you've got the sort of model that already exists and makes sense that you can sort of apply into this space.
That's it.
And clearly, personally, like a good background on it as well.
Yeah, and with any marketplace, your first challenge is kind of get that supply in place. So we spent a lot of effort getting that right, and then you scale in the demand.
And what is your like unique perspective then? Is it IP?
It's IP. There's a reason there's not many networks like this out there, because it's quite technically challenging to build.
Yeah.
It sounds simple as a marketplace, but underneath it's very complex.
Didn't sound that simple, don't worry.
Oh, okay. So that's the IP, and then also the suppliers is a good one. This is the reason we're creating these relationships, and for many of them, we are their first route into the market. They've got the assets, they've got the data centers, but they never sold into this space, and we become their primary route to market.
And the model, you take a cut?
Yeah, 30% we take
amazing.
of everything that goes through the platform.
Yeah.
Are there any comparable like exit or acquisition transactions, and what kind of multiples?
Yeah, there's a few at the moment. So if I take CoreWeave, who is most known in this space, they've recently been doing a raise at 8 billion. Billion, yeah.
Wow.
And this year they will have done 500 million revenue, but last year they did 30 million revenue. So this is the growth in demand of this infrastructure. Lambda is another one, which is well known. They did 1.5 billion valuation this year, and their revenue, again, they 5x'd revenue in the last year as well. So you're consistently seeing kind of at least 3x year-on-year growth from the providers in this space, and that's because the demand's there.
What is a data center? A data center is like a giant high-tech warehouse for information. Imagine it as a central hub where digital data is stored, managed, and processed. This could be anything from your favorite cat videos to important files companies need to run their businesses. Inside a data center, there are lots of powerful computers, storage systems, and fancy networking equipment. Think of these as the workers in the warehouse, making sure everything is organized and ready to go. The main job of a data center is to keep all this digital content safe, available, and running smoothly. It has backup plans in case something goes wrong, like a power outage or a computer glitch. All of this takes a lot of power and generates a lot of heat. They even have to have special cooling systems to keep everything from overheating. As we use more and more digital services like social media or online shopping, data centers have to keep up. They've gotten really smart, using technologies like virtualization and the cloud to be more flexible and handle lots of information at once. In a nutshell, data centers are like the behind-the-scenes superheroes that make sure our digital world works. From sending messages to streaming videos, all while keeping our data safe and sound.
Yeah, so obviously you've got the massive growing demand of companies looking for solving that problem.
Yeah.
And you've got that, there's enormous companies in the US that are raising at these incredible multiples and stuff. So how do you find this like middle layer, and how do you keep up like the demand essentially? How do you keep up the supply to meet the demand and keep growing into those multiples? Because it sounds a little bit like if you could, you obviously would, but where does that sort of balance on the scale keep tipping?
Yeah, it's a little bit of secret sauce on the supply side, but
Fair.
We come from the data center industry. We were in it for 20 years, and most of our revenue came through channel. So we actually worked with about 280 service providers around the world. So we've got all that contacts, and we work with our history. And then also we come from the blockchain space as well,
Right.
And the mining market. So we have a lot of contacts in that space. So most of the major providers are signed up with us in that space as well. And then just from the brand awareness, you have people that have got the equipment and they want to get into the space, and they're contacting us now because they see that as a new route to market for them. So that's the supply side. And then on the demand side, it's about awareness at the end of the day. So, we market out, but also we sell through channels. So we integrate into other platforms where we have availability or have better pricing than the other options on there.
That makes sense. How come you're raising how you're raising? So 45 million cap and convertible note, etc. Because it sounds like the business is performing super well and it's like a clearly growing space. It's a bit of a no-brainer. So how come?
So we launched the compute platform this year, around the middle of this year, and that's really started to scale on that side. So we've spent, it's probably 3 years building the actual compute platform, and then the last 18 months bringing up the suppliers and bringing them on. And it's now that we're actually starting to really realize the early revenues from that. And we're bringing on fast opportunities. I mean, we've brought on 2 million ARR in the last 3 weeks of qualified quotes that we're giving out to customers. So we're at that point of scaling up quickly, and we didn't think it was right valuation-wise at the moment. So.
Got it. So this is really to help you grow into a valuation that seems fair without it being so aggressive that people won't do it.
Correct. Yeah.
Trying to find that sweet spot.
Yeah. So by December next year, we're expecting kind of 2.5 million per month revenue, and that's a better time to do a valuation.
Talk to us about some of the institutional investors you've got, or venture firms. Have you had many of those come in?
So we do have a lot in the blockchain space, actually, because we do have a blockchain platform. AI is a vertical, so is graphics and data analytics, but blockchain needs computing as well. So a lot of them come from there. We've got Animoca Brands, who's the biggest games company in that space. We've got Outlier Ventures, who's the kind of main accelerator in the UK. We've got a kind of the Extension Ventures or Momentum Funding, which is one of the angel networks here. So we've got kind of a big mix. And then we have Filecoin, which is the biggest storage network in the blockchain space. We're connecting that onto our platform to be able to enable them to sell storage. On the game side, all games need infrastructure. So they're all strategic pretty much on our VCs.
We were talking earlier about the importance of mentors and advisors. And do you have mentors? Do you have advisors?
Yeah, we have the 2 prior presidents of Sony PlayStation. They're on our board of advisors. Biggest compute network in the world. There's about 100 million PlayStations out there. They work very closely with us. They're just working with us now on scaling the brand globally and what we're doing. So that will take place kind of Q1 next year. We've got Jorg, who is the director for AMD for AI. Second biggest chip manufacturer in the world. So, we work closely with him. He kind of advises us and helps on that side. And then we've got kind of a whole team behind there that really help us because they're companies that have been through the scale up businesses.
If you don't succeed, what is the reason?
I would say everything is built, all the supply is in place, demand is scaling. So the only reason we wouldn't succeed is if we didn't keep scaling on the demand side, I would say. Everything else is already in place and it's scaling at the moment.
I'm in the financial district of London today asking people about AI. Let's go. Do you currently use AI?
All the time.
Really?
ChatGPT is my best friend.
What do you use it for?
Everything.
Really?
All the ideas, or if I'm not sure how to implement it in my life, I ask ChatGPT. ChatGPT knows all the answers.
So do you currently use AI?
Yes. yeah.
How do you use it?
ChatGPT.
Do you currently use AI?
Not yet, but I'm starting to, because with the Amazon thing, it's going to be helpful to write some advertisements and stuff.
I do currently use AI actually, so I've got my own social media platforms, also for work as well, helps me write reports, things like that. write scripts for YouTube videos, which is fantastic to be fair.
I use it for research most times. I use it to answer questions. I use it for research because my work has to do with lots of researching, so I have to use most of these AI tools.
And if you had to guess what percentage of devices use AI, would you say it's 77%, 55% or 22%?
70%.
77%.
Yeah.
Correct.
I would say 50 something. Yeah.
It's actually 77.
Wow, higher than that.
I think 23 people still not aware of it.
The answer is 77%.
No way. Okay, people are smarter than I think. Okay.
I think 56.
The answer is 77.
77 already?
Yeah.
Damn,
Yeah.
that's a lot. That's a lot. Okay, thank you.
I'm going to say 77.
Spot on.
Spot on. I do think so. Obviously, AI is everywhere now without people realising. Unless you know about AI, I don't think people understand it's literally everywhere.
Talk to us about the blockchain and your view on that. Is there possibility for utility in future in terms of the compute side with the blockchain and token?
Yes, yeah. So the blockchain's called CUDOS. It's already a token that's out there around the world, and it is one of the main compute blockchains. Essentially, what we do is we connect that blockchain into our distributed compute network around the world, and blockchain needs to be distributed. It can't be with one provider because that's a huge security problem. We're one of the few providers that you can go onto our network and you could choose 10 different providers in 10 different countries and regions all around the world, all secure, all diverse from each other. So that's a really big market, and we've got a number of blockchains that are launching themselves on our platform. And the new version goes live in January, actually. So we've got a lot of utility on that side, but we get the advantage of being able to sell into the traditional cloud computing market, and then also being able to sell into the blockchain space.
So Matt, forgive me if we've already covered this, but can you tell us about your team?
5 of my prior team that were in my last company, all great individuals they've come across, and they're in this business as well. So my CTO, one of my co-founders, on the engineering side, we've got a number of the team as well. So they're brilliant. They've been with me for 20 years. We've also got my COO has previously scaled and exited a fintech company beforehand. My chief strategy officer was previously the CIO for Barclays. So he was responsible for the Barclays application, as a really secure platforms, millions of users. He also helped roll out a lot of the systems for HMRC. So we've got the experience on that side. And then who heads up compute in our business, previously has built strategy and design for 2 of the biggest kind of open distributed compute platforms. So we've got a lot of experience in the team. We've kind of been there, done it before, which is good. Wow. So there's just over 30 of us in total.
Gosh.
What does your perfect investor look like then in this next stage?
It's strategic, definitely, and it's either on the supply or demand side. So we've got on the supply side, cloud providers, data center providers, infrastructure providers. And on the supply side, working with AI companies, so AI angel groups, AI accelerators, anything really in that space that needs high performance computing. So we're speaking to a number of VC funds, for example, at the moment, and that means that if we can save their portfolio 75% on the cost of their AI infrastructure, that means their revenues or the investment's going to last longer, their costs are lower, and they're more likely to succeed.
Okay.
What's a common objection that you've heard? Obviously, VCs love to give smart objections. So
Yeah.
What's a good one?
I think the biggest one is kind of, you never get fired for choosing BT or IBM or whatever that solution is. So I think it's just brand awareness because we're relatively new in the space. Then that's the primary one. So as you create more users and trust and scale, then that's it.
So I get commercially how it can save money. What positive difference does it make in the world, if any?
Yeah, for an environmental perspective, I didn't cover that actually, is all suppliers are sustainable. So they have to be either in renewable energy locations, or we've got a number where the heat is reused and it's actually used for things like agriculture, where it's used to heat farming land. So it's actually carbon negative compared to cloud providers that are out there. So that's really important to us. And then we have some others that use recycled and refurbished hardware, so you don't have to keep building new equipment. So that's key. That's for every provider that's on our platform.
How big do you think it can get?
I mean, as of end of Q1, we should have about $500 million of infrastructure on our platform. And that is scaling quickly as well. So there is effectively no limitation.
The hockey stick just goes off the page.
Yes.
Yeah.
Up and right. Brilliant. Matt, thanks very much. You are, I think, going to leave the room now and we're going to talk behind your back.
Great.
Well done. Thank you.
Thank you. Nice to meet you.
mate. Thank you.
Cheers.
Guys, we just heard from Matt. Really interesting. What are your thoughts?
I mean, I love a business like that, personally. I think it's multiple things about it that are great, but the most important thing is like founder product fit. Like that's the right founder for the right kind of business. And it's kind of one of those businesses that the wrong founder would think, this is a really exciting opportunity, and then realize they're not passionate about it, or they can't keep the level of interest in that topic or whatever. And he clearly just loves that topic. I could not get out of bed for that mission personally, but like it's amazing. You can see how passionate he is, and that's all you want in a founder. You want someone who really cares and knows that they're competent enough to solve it and can point to the fact that it's a massive opportunity. So for me, it's like the triple whammy. It's the three perfect things you look for in an investment.
Yeah, he's super smart with it as well, isn't he?
Yeah.
Really intelligent guy.
I love the environmental aspect as well. I wasn't expecting that. That was excellent.
Yeah.
Definitely an impressive founder. Sounds like an excellent business, massive growth potential. I think for myself as an investor, probably something I would not, proceed with, because not my main area of expertise. And then also I'd like to be in situations where I can add value, and I can't see how I would be able to add value at this stage to something like that.
Yeah.
Pretty sure he makes everyone feel that way. It makes you feel better.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's fascinating. I think what if I was to have like a one-to-one with him for like 15, 20 minutes is like understanding like, the S part of ESG. So it's great that he had the answer for the E. And then he seems to have really good.
Do you want to just explain what that is in case some people don't know?
Yeah, environmental, social governance, right? And so then basically the G part, he seems to have covered that well with his advisory board or his board. But I want to understand a little bit more about like their contribution to society and the ethics side of things. But yeah, really impressive business.
Yeah.
Well, they'll help us all get run by Terminators faster and more efficiently.
Exactly.
If he has his way, then absolutely.
Yeah, it'd be great.
Yeah. Steve?
Timing. We were talking about timing earlier, and I think, again, great timing, but not somebody, you said it, Cheryl, about everybody, every pitch deck you get now has got AI in it, right, on the front cover, and even if it's just because they're using ChatGPT. But actually, the timing is fantastic. But they've been building this for 3 years. So other people trying to come into this space, it's going to take a lot of time. Yeah. And to have a founder that is an exited entrepreneur at 20 million, success leaves clues. Yep. So that's always a good sign. But he understands it from one side of it, because he's been running data centers. So he actually understands how to get the supply, and just understands that industry, the pain points, all of those sorts of things. Yeah. So I was really pleased about the environmental element of it, because I think 3% of the world's data center, 3% of CO2 comes from data centers around the world. Yeah. So actually using existing hardware, it's like vintage, where you're actually using stuff that already exists rather than having to build new data centers. That's going to be massive. Yeah.
It's an Uber model. It's the Airbnb of cloud space, I guess you could say. So would you invest?
Yes.
What about you, Dan?
Definitely. It's so my type of business. I'm like not valuation sensitive at all with businesses that sound smart, and like I say, when the founder feels right. And so I can just see that's got limitless potential.
So Cheryl, would you invest?
Not at this stage. So I like to understand the business that I'm investing in more detail, and I also would like to be able to add value. And at this stage, I don't see how I'd be able to add value, if that makes any sense.
No, it does. Thank you. So Matt, how do you think that went?
It was good. It was a good selection of questions. I think probably from a technical understanding, naturally it falls into Dan's category. I get the feeling.
I felt like you and him could have gone on to another level of conversation. He understands tech, he understands blockchain.
Yeah.
And then, you know, whereas you've got to keep it at a level where someone like myself is understanding it in layman's terms, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So it's might not be the best TV for, but yeah, no, it's fascinating talking about it. I enjoy it.
Yeah. And in terms of the interaction, in terms of just how much, you know, you were able to explain about what you did you feel you got it all covered?
Yeah, I think so. I think, you kind of have to simplify it. If you think of Uber's a good example. Is actually, if you think about the algorithms that work behind it and how it works, it's a really complicated platform, but most people just go and click the button and there you go, it's working.
Yeah.
So you kind of just keep it to the important areas rather than, technically how it works.
Yeah. And in context, just asking you, all right, if you were to do call it an elevator pitch that wasn't for a television program, how long would it be? How would you get everything you need in to feel like someone could understand it from a standing start?
Well, I do find the Airbnb for cloud computing.
Yes, that makes sense to me. I think I use that in my summary to the guys. That makes sense to me because you use the Uber scenario. You're not building an expensive infrastructure. Yeah, you're tapping into existing infrastructure, which is really smart.
Yeah, the Airbnb kind of from an infrastructure perspective makes more sense because they're buildings that are sat there empty and unused, and it's like, well, let's monetize those. But from a technical perspective, it's more like an Uber platform where we automatically connect everything.
Yeah. And going back to Dan and his connections to tech, are you finding a lot of people that are getting involved in investing have got that understanding of tech and therefore they are able to move quicker and get involved?
Yeah, definitely. Either they buy that type of resources, they work with companies that buy it, or they work on the supply side in cloud providers or data center providers. So they're probably 80-90% are on one side of that fence.
Well, it was all positive feedback, and I think you did really well. To be able to try and get what effectively was a short pitch and then deal with the Q&A in the time that you had, I think you did really well. So well done, Matt.
Thanks.